There's a level of discipline that makes people look at you with fear. And today, you'll discover exactly how to get there. Have you ever seen that person who never fails? Who wakes up every day at the same time, does the same things, and just never stops? While everyone else gives up by the third week, they keep going. While everyone else makes excuses, they show up. And you know what people say about them? Man, that's not normal. There's an ancient system created by Zen monks in Japan that produces exactly this kind of frightening consistency. They call it gwoji, the practice that perpetuates itself. And once you understand how it works, you'll never break a goal again. But there's a catch. This system isn't for everyone. It requires you to kill a part of yourself you never knew existed. But before I show you how it works, subscribe to the channel, like it below, and comment on the habit you most want to create in your life. This helps me a lot and shows me that you're genuinely interested in changing. Let's go. The story I'm about to tell you happened to a programmer named Raphael. Smart guy, successful career, 6-figure salary, nice apartment. On paper, Raphael was winning, but he had one problem. One devastating, soul-crushing problem that kept him awake at 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling. He couldn't stick to any habit for more than 2 weeks. Gym? He'd stop after 2 months. Meditation? 1 week, and that was it. Reading? He'd buy a book, read 3 pages, and then forget it in the drawer. Learning a new language? 3 lessons on Duolingo before he convinced himself he didn't have time. The pattern was always the same. Monday. Total motivation. He'd wake up at 5 a.m. feeling like Superman, ready to conquer the world. His mind painted vivid pictures of the person he'd become: fit, focused, unstoppable. Wednesday. First mental negotiation. I'm a little tired today. Maybe I'll start at 6 a.m. instead. 1 hour won't hurt. I'll make it up tomorrow. I still get points for trying, right? Friday. Complete surrender. The alarm goes off. He turns it off without even thinking. The habit is dead. The dream evaporates like morning mist. Sunday. Promises about the next week. Monday, I'll start fresh. This time will be different. This time I'll really commit. I'll plan better. I'll be more realistic. But Monday comes, and the cycle repeats. Over and over and over again. A hamster wheel of broken promises. Raphael tried everything. Habit tracking apps with colorful streaks and achievement badges that made him feel productive without actually being productive. Reward systems where he'd treat himself to something nice after hitting milestones, except he never hit the milestones. Accountability partners who checked in on him every morning until they stopped because he kept letting them down. Motivational videos that pumped him up for exactly 48 hours before the effect wore off like a drug leaving his system. He read every book. Atomic Habits, The Power of Habit, Tiny Habits, The 5 a.m. Club, Deep Work. He could quote them all. He understood the science. He knew about dopamine loops and habit stacking and implementation intentions and the 2-minute rule. Information wasn't his problem. Nothing worked. Because Raphael was fighting something he couldn't even see, something he couldn't imagine, something lurking in the architecture of his brain, sabotaging him from the inside. Here's what Raphael didn't understand yet. Your brain isn't designed to help you grow. It's designed to keep you alive. And in your brain's ancient operating system, the same one your ancestors had 50,000 years ago, staying alive means conserving energy and avoiding risk. Every new habit you try to build is registered as a threat. Your brain sees it as unnecessary energy expenditure. Why wake up at 5 a.m. when you could sleep and conserve energy? Why go to the gym when you're perfectly safe on the couch? Why read when you could scroll mindlessly and let your brain rest? Your current patterns, hitting snooze, ordering takeout, watching Netflix until midnight, these aren't bad habits to your brain. They're survival mechanisms. They're comfortable. They're safe. They're automated. When you try to override them with willpower, you're essentially asking your tiny conscious mind to defeat millions of years of evolutionary programming. And in that battle, evolution wins. Every single time. Eventually, the question isn't whether you'll break, it's when. Raphael knew he needed something different. Something that didn't rely on willpower. Something that worked with his brain's programming instead of against it. Something permanent. That's when, at 2 a.m. on a random Tuesday, Unable to sleep because of another failed attempt at building a morning routine, he stumbled across a video about Zen monks. These monks wake up every single day at 3:30 a.m. They've been doing this since the year 1200 AD. That's over 800 years. Through wars, through earthquakes, through plagues, through everything. The bell rings. They wake up. No negotiation, no excuses, no gaps. Raphael sat there in the dark, blue light washing over his face, and thought, what do they know that I don't? The answer would completely destroy his old self and rebuild him into someone he wouldn't recognize. In Zen temples across Japan, there's a rule that seems simple but changes everything once you truly understand what it means. Guoji. Literally translated, it means continuous practice without gaps. Without gaps. Do you understand what that means? Not just intellectually, but what it really means. Let me show you. Since 1200 AD, every single day at 3:30 inches the morning, a bell rings at Aiheiji Temple. And since 1200 AD, every single day without exception, the monks wake up. Not at 3:25 a.m. Not at 3:35 a.m. Exactly at 3:30 a.m. For 825 years. Through the Mongol invasions, through civil wars, through World War II, through earthquakes that leveled entire cities, through everything the world has thrown at that temple, the bell rings at 3:30 a.m. and the monks wake up. You want to know what never happens in that temple? No monk lies in bed thinking, today I'm going to skip. I'm tired. One day won't matter. The question simply doesn't exist in their minds. It's not that they have superhuman discipline. It's that they understand something about how commitments work that you don't yet. Something that will change everything once it clicks in your mind. Your brain categorizes every commitment you make into two boxes, reversible or irreversible. Reversible commitments become mental negotiations every single day. Should I work out today? I'm tired. Maybe tomorrow. I deserve rest after yesterday. Is this even worth it? What's one day? I can make it up. I'll do double tomorrow. Monday is a better day to start anyway. Your brain runs sophisticated cost-benefit analyses on reversible decisions every single time the moment arrives. It calculates the pain of doing it versus the pain of not doing it. And most days, immediate comfort wins, rest wins, tomorrow wins, later wins. Irreversible commitments? They simply happen. When you get married, you don't wake up every morning and negotiate whether you're still married today. Being married is hard today. Maybe I'll be single, just for today, and be married again tomorrow. When you become a parent, you don't debate each Tuesday whether you're still a parent. You know what? Parenting is exhausting. I'm taking the day off from being a dad. The identity changed. The decision is done. The negotiation ended the moment the commitment became irreversible. When a monk takes his vows in front of the entire monastery, when he shaves his head, when he puts on the robes, when he speaks the words in front of 100 witnesses, he's not making a promise. He's not setting a goal. He's not creating an intention. He's not hoping to become something. He's changing his identity. Right there, in that moment. He's not promising to try to meditate. He's declaring himself a meditator. The community witnesses it. The identity shifts from one state to another. The negotiation ends forever. A Harvard University neuroscientist who has been studying habits for 15 years discovered something revolutionary about public commitments and identity. When you make a behavior public, your primitive brain interprets potential failure as a survival threat. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. Our ancestors lived in tribes of about 150 people. That tribe was everything: safety, food, reproduction, survival. If you lost status in that tribe, if you became known as someone who couldn't keep their word, someone unreliable, you could be expelled, and expulsion meant death. Alone in the wilderness with predators and hostile tribes, you didn't last long. Your modern brain, the one sitting in your skull right now, still operates on this ancient programming. When failure is private, it's uncomfortable. You feel bad. You're disappointed in yourself. But you survive. When failure is public, when everyone knows, when your status is at stake, your brain interprets this as catastrophic, as life-threatening. Your amygdala, the ancient fear center, lights up like a Christmas tree. That's exactly what Raphael did. He stopped making private promises and started making public declarations. He took out a piece of paper, not a note on his phone, not a digital document, physical paper, something real, something that exists in the physical world. And he wrote, "I am a person who meditates 20 minutes every day at 5:00 a.m. for 90 consecutive days. Not, I will try. Not, my goal is. Not, I hope to. Not, I want to. I am." Present tense, identity declaration, non-negotiable statement of fact. He signed it, he dated it, and then he took a photo and posted it everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. He sent it to the family group chat. He told his girlfriend. He told his co-workers at the office. He told his boss. He told the barista at his coffee shop who knew his name. His girlfriend looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "Babe, you're being way too dramatic. Why does everyone need to know this? Can't you just do it for yourself?" His co-worker laughed. "Man, you're trying too hard. Just do it quietly. Why put all this pressure on yourself? You're setting yourself up to fail publicly." Perfect. Those reactions told him he was doing it right, because every person who knew became fuel for the fire. Every person who doubted became ammunition. Every skeptical look, every raised eyebrow, every "we'll see how long this lasts" became a reason to continue. Every morning he wanted to quit. He thought about having to look them all in the face, having to post online that he'd failed after 3 days, having to admit to his girlfriend again that he was just another guy full of big talk who couldn't deliver on his promises. The thought was unbearable. Day 3 brought the first real test. The alarm went off at 5 a.m. Raphael had been out late the night before at a work event. He'd gotten maybe 4 hours of sleep. His body felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. His bed had never been more comfortable. Immediately, his mind began its usual sophisticated routine of self-sabotage. "You're exhausted. This isn't healthy. Your body needs rest. Sleep is actually more important than meditation. You read that article about it. One day won't make a difference. You'll meditate twice as long tomorrow. You'll make it up. This is about health, not about ego. Successful people know when to rest. You're going to get sick if you keep this up." Every excuse felt perfectly logical. Every rationalization was backed by reasonable-sounding evidence. Every thought felt like wisdom rather than weakness. But something fundamental had changed. The thought of posting online that he'd lost after only 3 days was unbearable. The thought of seeing his girlfriend at breakfast and admitting, once again, that he'd given up. The thought of his co-worker smirking on Monday morning and saying, "How's that meditation thing going?" while already knowing the answer. The pain of quitting had become greater than the pain of continuing. His feet hit the floor. He sat down on his meditation cushion. He started his timer. 20 minutes. His mind raced like a Formula One car. His body screamed at him that this was wrong, that he should be sleeping. Every cell rebelled. But he didn't move. He sat there, present with the discomfort, present with the resistance, present with the war happening inside him. 20 minutes later, it was done. The public declaration had ended the mental negotiation about whether to practice. But Raphael was about to discover that this was only step 1. The internal war was far from over. Even with all this social pressure, even with his reputation on the line, Raphael was still waging war every single day. His body didn't care about his reputation. His body didn't care about his social media post, or his girlfriend's opinion, or his co-worker's judgment. His body wanted to sleep when it was tired. It wanted comfort. It wanted the path of least resistance. It wanted what it had always had. The public declaration had ended the question of if he was going to practice. That was settled. But he was still fighting about when. Maybe I'll do it at 6 a.m. instead, or 7 a.m., or after work, or before bed. 5 a.m. isn't magical. I could meditate any time. Flexibility is healthy. Rigidity is toxic. I should listen to my body. That's when he discovered the monk's second principle, non-negotiable hours. Every day, you waste precious mental energy on the same stupid question. When will I do this? Now or after breakfast, morning or evening, before work or after work, 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., this afternoon or tonight, today or tomorrow when I'll feel more ready. This decision burns glucose in your brain, actual measurable mental energy that should be used for the practice itself. You're wasting your fuel deciding when to drive instead of actually driving. Researchers at Stanford University found that every decision you make depletes your willpower reserves. They call it decision fatigue. It's why judges grant parole more often in the morning than the afternoon. It's why you eat healthy at breakfast but order pizza at dinner. By the time you finish deciding when to work out, you've already used up the willpower you needed to actually work out. Raphael chose 5 a.m. Not because he was naturally a morning person. He wasn't. Not because he loved watching sunrises or felt some spiritual connection to dawn. Not because some productivity guru told him mornings were optimal. He chose 5 a.m. because the world was asleep. No phone notifications, no emails, no Slack messages, no distractions. No one asking for his attention, no valid excuses. The time wasn't about optimization, it was about elimination. Eliminating every possible reason to delay, to postpone, to do it later. The first week was absolute hell. His body fought against it every single morning with everything it had. The alarm would ring and his hand would reach out to turn it off before his conscious mind even engaged. He'd lie there in the dark, his body screaming at him that this was unnatural, that this was wrong, that humans aren't supposed to wake up when it's still night, that this is causing damage. That's normal. Your body is a biological machine that works with patterns. It runs on routines. It's been running the same morning pattern for years, maybe decades. Wake up slowly. Hit snooze twice. Check phone in bed. Drag yourself to the coffee maker. And now you're forcing it to build a completely new pattern from scratch. Of course it resists. Of course it fights. Of course it sabotages. But then, in the second week, something started to change. Day 9. Raphael woke up 3 minutes before his alarm. Day 10. 5 minutes before. Day 12. He was awake before the alarm even rang, lying there in the dark, waiting for it. His body had begun preparing for what it now knew was inevitable. His circadian rhythm was shifting. His cortisol levels were adjusting. His body temperature was starting to rise earlier. On day 14, something extraordinary happened that changed everything. The alarm rang. Before his conscious mind could even process the sound, before a single thought formed, his feet were on the floor. No negotiation, no thought, no decision, just automatic movement. His body had accepted the new pattern. The resistance ended. The internal war ceased. Here's what most people don't understand about fixed hours, what Raphael was only beginning to grasp. It's not about finding the perfect schedule. It's not about whether morning or evening is scientifically optimal for your chronotype. It's not about working with your natural energy rhythms. It's about removing time as a variable entirely. When you do something at different times every day, you're forcing your brain to make a fresh decision every single time. Should I do it now? Or later? Is this the right time? How do I feel? What else is happening? Maybe after this other thing? When the time is fixed, when it's locked down, non-negotiable, invariable, your brain can't argue with a constant. The question disappears, the negotiation ends, but Raphael discovered a new problem that threatened everything. His schedule was fixed, 5 a.m., every day, locked in. That was one. But he kept changing what he did during that time. Some mornings, meditation felt right. Other days, maybe some light stretching first. Sometimes he'd do a body scan meditation. Other times, breath work. Sometimes he'd read for a bit before meditating, sometimes after. His 20 minutes at 5 a.m. was happening, but the content was chaos. His brain had adapted. It had found a new negotiating point, a new crack in the armor. Instead of arguing about when, it started arguing about what. Should I do breath meditation or mantra meditation today? Maybe loving kindness feels better this morning. What about walking meditation? Is seated meditation even the best choice for my body type? 20 minutes at 5 a.m. became reliable. The time was fixed, but the practice itself was chaos. Different every day, varied based on how he felt, what seemed right, what his mind suggested. The fixed schedule had solved half the equation, but his mind was still finding loopholes to negotiate, still finding ways to maintain control, still preventing full automation. He'd eliminated the when, but not the what. And this is where Dogen's teaching on form becomes controversial, because what he taught sounds extreme to modern ears. It sounds robotic, inhuman, obsessive. He taught that you must do exactly the same thing every single day until your mind completely surrenders. Before we continue, if you're still watching, you're different from most people. Most people have already quit this video. Subscribe to this channel right now. Hit the like button. Comment below with one habit you'll commit to for 90 days. This tells the algorithm to show this to more people who need it. But more importantly, it tells me you're serious. That you're not just watching, you're changing. If you do this, I'll know you're ready for what comes next. Let's continue. You think variety keeps things interesting. You think flexibility prevents burnout. You think mixing things up makes you adaptable and prevents stagnation. But variety is actually where consistency dies. Every time you change what you're doing, your brain has to make micro-decisions. Should I do push-ups or burpees today? Which book should I read next? How long should I meditate, 10 minutes or 20? Breathing meditation or body scan? Morning pages or gratitude journal? Strength or cardio? This podcast or that one? Every small decision is a crack where your old patterns leak back in. Every choice is an opportunity for your mind to negotiate. Every variation is a chance for the old you to regain control. Master Dogen, the founder of the Soto school of Zen Buddhism in the 13th century, taught something that sounds absolutely insane to modern ears. He said, do the same practice, in the same way, at the same time, in the same place, without variation, until the practice does itself. Not until you master it, not until you perfect it, not until you understand it fully, until the practice does itself, until you are no longer doing it, until it is simply happening through you. Raphael completely locked everything down. 20 push-ups, 10 minutes of meditation using the breath-counting method, 10 minutes of reading from the same book until finished, then the next book. Same order, every single day. Same book until finished. Same meditation technique, no variety, no exploring other methods. Same number of push-ups, not around 20, not 15 to 25 depending on how I feel. Exactly 20. His personal ango, a term Zen monks use for periods of intensive training, usually 90 days would be 90 days of absolutely identical practice. No variation, no flexibility, no listening to his body about what felt right today. The practice was set. The form was locked. His friends called him robotic. Dude, you're like a machine now, it's kind of weird. His girlfriend said he was getting obsessed. This isn't healthy. You need flexibility, balance. You're becoming rigid. His coworker joked that he'd turned into an AI. What happened to you? You used to be spontaneous. They didn't understand that robotic was exactly the point. Rigid was the goal. Machine-like consistency was what he was building. Because that's what works. That's what creates automaticity. That's what ends negotiation forever. The third week, his mind went to war harder than it ever had. Every single morning, it screamed for variety. This is stupid. You're not a robot. You're a human being. Humans need variety. This is unnatural. Mix things up or you'll burn out. This can't be sustainable. You're missing out on other techniques. What if there's a better way? What if this exact routine isn't optimal for you? Shouldn't you be more flexible, more adaptive, more balanced? The voice was loud, persistent, convincing. It sounded like wisdom. It sounded like health. It sounded like reason. But it was just his old patterns fighting for survival. The fourth week, something broke. Not his discipline, not his commitment, not his practice. His resistance broke. The voice of negotiation started getting quieter. The mental battles that used to last 5 minutes started lasting 30 seconds. The urge to change things up started fading. The feeling that he needed variety started seeming less important. His body was learning the sequence like a dancer learns choreography, like a musician learns a piece of music, like your hands learn to type without looking at the keyboard. By week 6, halfway through his ango, something remarkable happened. He was halfway through his push-ups before he even realized he'd started. His hand would reach for the same book without conscious thought. His timer would be running and he'd have no memory of setting it. The practice was beginning to take care of itself. The doing was happening without a doer. This is what people don't understand about consistency. It's what Raphael had missed in all those books and videos he'd consumed before. It's not about willpower lasting forever. Willpower is finite. Willpower depletes. Willpower runs out like a battery. It's about repetition until willpower is no longer needed. An MIT neuroscientist named Dr. Anne Graybiel has studied the automatization of behaviors for over 12 years. Her research on habit formation has revolutionized how we understand learning. She discovered that when you repeat an action in the same context, same time, same place, same sequence for approximately 66 days, something extraordinary happens in your brain structure. The basal ganglia, the ancient, primitive part of your brain responsible for automatic behaviors like walking and breathing, takes over. The behavior shifts from your prefrontal cortex, conscious, effortful, to your basal ganglia, unconscious, automatic. The behavior becomes automatic, effortless, inevitable. You're no longer deciding to do it. You're simply doing it. Like breathing, like walking, like blinking. Then came day 35. Raphael woke up with the flu. Fever of 102, body aches, chills, could barely stand without feeling dizzy. This is where the old pattern would have kicked in, where the old Raphael would have appeared. Sick day equals rest day. I'll start again when I'm better. Missing a few days because of illness is reasonable. Anyone would understand. Even the monks would understand. Health comes first. Every excuse was perfectly valid, perfectly reasonable, perfectly justified. Day 40 brought an even bigger test. Business travel. Red-eye flight at 4 a.m. Client meetings all day. Hotel gym closed for renovation. No meditation space. No privacy. Complete chaos. This is where the old Raphael would have surrendered. Perfect excuse. Impossible situation. No one could blame him. I'll restart when I get back. This trip is the exception. You can't meditate in an airport. It's not realistic. I'll do double sessions when I'm home. But something fundamental had changed in Raphael. Something deeper than discipline. Something beyond willpower. Because he'd discovered what Dogen meant when he wrote, "Practice must continue without even a moment of gap." The all-or-nothing lie has killed more consistency than laziness ever could. It's killed more dreams than fear. It's destroyed more transformations than doubt. You tell yourself, if I can't do the full 20 minutes, why do anything at all? If I can't do perfect push-ups with perfect form, I'll wait until tomorrow when I'm less tired. If conditions aren't ideal, if the situation isn't perfect, I'll skip it and start fresh when everything aligns. This thinking creates gaps. And gaps are where your old self crawls back in. Gaps are where your old patterns re-establish themselves. Gaps are where death happens. Look at any elite athlete and you'll see something people constantly misinterpret. They have rest days. They have recovery periods. They have light training sessions. People see this and think, see? Even they take breaks. Even they're flexible. But those rest days are still practice. Those recovery periods are still progress. Those light sessions are still movement toward the goal. They're intentional, strategic, planned in advance. Never because they feel lazy. Never because they don't want to train. Never because Netflix looks better than the gym. A rest day allows them to train harder tomorrow. It's recovery with purpose. It's strategic restoration. It's still movement in the direction of their goal. But when you skip because you're tired, that's not rest. That's not recovery. That's not strategic. That's retreat. Dogen used a metaphor that changes everything once you understand what he meant. A river never stops flowing. During a drought, it may slow to a trickle. During summer heat, it may nearly disappear. But it never stops. Water keeps moving, even if just a drop at a time. The moment it stops completely, it's no longer a river. It's a dry riverbed. It's just a memory of where water used to flow. It's death. Your practice is the same. The moment you create a gap, a complete stop, a full break, a day of zero, you're no longer practicing. You're someone who used to practice. Past tense. Memory. Ghost. Day 35. Raphael woke up at 5 a.m. with a 102-degree fever. His body felt like it had been hit by a truck. Every muscle ached. His head pounded. Moving seemed impossible. The old voice returned, sounding so reasonable, so wise, so caring. Rest. You're sick. Your body needs recovery. This is a legitimate medical reason to stop. Start again when you're better. Even monks rest when they're truly ill. This is about health, not ego. But Raphael had written down his pre-solution for this exact scenario weeks ago, before the moment of crisis, before the pain of the decision. If sick, 2 push-ups, 2 minutes of meditation, 1 page of reading. He rolled out of bed. Or rather, he fell out of bed. He got on the floor. He did 2 push-ups, not 20. 2. They were terrible. His form was awful. His arms shook like leaves. They barely counted as push-ups. A fitness instructor would have laughed. It didn't matter. He sat for 2 minutes, not 20. 2. His mind was foggy. He couldn't concentrate. His head pounded. He spent most of those 2 minutes thinking about how terrible he felt and wondering if he should go to the doctor. It didn't matter. He picked up his book. He read 1 page. Not 10 minutes worth. 1 page. He barely absorbed any of it. He had to reread some sentences 3 times. The words swam on the page. It didn't matter. The practice continued. The river kept flowing. The gap never formed. His streak remained unbroken, not because he was strong that day, but because he'd been smart weeks earlier when he was healthy and could think clearly. Day 40. Travel day. Alarm at 4 a.m. to catch a flight. Airport at 5 a.m. Client meetings scheduled for the entire day. Hotel gym closed for renovation. No meditation room. No quiet space. Complete chaos. The old Raphael would have said, impossible. Can't be done. I'll restart when. But he was still fighting about when. Maybe I'll do it at 6 a.m. instead. Or 7 a.m. Or after work. Or before bed. 5 a.m. isn't magical. I could meditate any time. Flexibility is healthy. Rigidity is toxic. I should listen to my body. That's when he discovered the monk's second principle. Non-negotiable hours. Every day, you waste precious mental energy on the same stupid question. When will I do this? Now or after breakfast? Morning or evening? Before work or after work? 6 a.m. or 7 a.m.? This afternoon or tonight? Today or tomorrow when I'll feel more ready? This decision burns glucose in your brain, actual measurable mental energy that should be used for the practice itself. You're wasting your fuel deciding when to drive instead of actually driving. Researchers at Stanford University found that every decision you make depletes your willpower reserves. They call it decision fatigue. It's why judges grant parole more often in the morning than the afternoon. It's why you eat healthy at breakfast but order pizza at dinner. By the time you finish deciding when to work out, you've already used up the willpower you needed to actually work out. Raphael chose 5 a.m. Not because he was naturally a morning person. He wasn't. Not because he loved watching sunrises or felt some spiritual connection to dawn. Not because some productivity guru told him mornings were optimal. He chose 5 a.m. because the world was asleep. No phone notifications, no emails, no Slack messages, no distractions. No one asking for his attention. No valid excuses. The time wasn't about optimization, it was about elimination. Eliminating every possible reason to delay, to postpone, to do it later. The first week was absolute hell. His body fought against it every single morning with everything it had. The alarm would ring and his hand would reach out to turn it off before his conscious mind even engaged. He'd lie there in the dark, his body screaming at him that this was unnatural, that this was wrong, that humans aren't supposed to wake up when it's still night, that this is causing damage. That's normal. Your body is a biological machine that works with patterns. It runs on routines. It's been running the same morning pattern for years, maybe decades. Wake up slowly. Hit snooze twice. Check phone in bed. Drag yourself to the coffee maker. And now you're forcing it to build a completely new pattern from scratch. Of course it resists. Of course it fights. Of course it sabotages. But then, in the second week, something started to change. Day 9. Raphael woke up 3 minutes before his alarm. Day 10. 5 minutes before. Day 12. He was awake before the alarm even rang, lying there in the dark, waiting for it. His body had begun preparing for what it now knew was inevitable. His circadian rhythm was shifting. His cortisol levels were adjusting. His body temperature was starting to rise earlier. On day 14, something extraordinary happened that changed everything. The alarm rang. Before his conscious mind could even process the sound, before a single thought formed, his feet were on the floor. No negotiation, no thought, no decision, just automatic movement. His body had accepted the new pattern. The resistance ended. The internal war ceased. Here's what most people don't understand about fixed hours, what Raphael was only beginning to grasp. It's not about finding the perfect schedule. It's not about whether morning or evening is scientifically optimal for your chronotype. It's not about working with your natural energy rhythms. It's about removing time as a variable entirely. When you do something at different times every day, you're forcing your brain to make a fresh decision every single time. Should I do it now? Or later? Is this the right time? How do I feel? What else is happening? Maybe after this other thing? When the time is fixed, when it's locked down, non-negotiable, invariable, your brain can't argue with a constant. The question disappears, the negotiation ends, but Raphael discovered a new problem that threatened everything. His schedule was fixed, 5 a.m., every day, locked in. That was one. But he kept changing what he did during that time. Some mornings, meditation felt right. Other days, maybe some light stretching first. Sometimes he'd do a body scan meditation. Other times, breath work. Sometimes he'd read for a bit before meditating. Sometimes